What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com, and coming to you from a very warm Ireland this week. It's the one week in the year where we get warm weather, so we complain about the cold for 51 weeks of the year, and the 1 week we get the warm day, we complain about that as well, but sure. That's what being Irish is all about. But anyway, today I'm bringing you another edition of the betting show as a big featherweight main event between Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez goes down over in Elmont, New York, United States. Is that Long Island? I think it is. So it's very fun fight. Not the best card in the world. Not gonna lie, but I've managed to pick out a few bets here that I think are pretty good. We didn't have a great last few weeks, lads. Not gonna lie. We got Ian Gary 2 weeks ago. We got one other bet last week as well. I've been too hurt to go back and look at them. It wasn't a great. Oh, we got Shevchenko. We got Shevchenko on the board. I picked one to get us on the board, and she did manage to get us on the board, even though my guy Ariel's calling it a robbery. I don't know about that. I wasn't watching it closely enough. I'll plead the fifth on that one. But hopefully we have a better week this week. But either way, please bet responsibly. Don't go mad. Only bet what you can, and even bet less than that. And keep it fun. I'll try to say this every week, and if I ever forget it, remember that I said it last week. So we'll do that. We'll always try to keep it fun. Let me know in the comment section below as well your bets. I saw a few people throwing in bets last week, and you know what? The comment section bets are probably better than my bets. So have a look down at the comment section at the wise bettors down there. And I appreciate it. This show has grown an awful lot over the last while. Appreciate everyone listening in. And as I've said from the start, it's more about getting ideas out there for people rather than, these bets are definitely going to win and all these percentages and all. I might try out an idea and you might disagree with it and go the other way. And that's absolutely fine too. But that's what I'm kind of doing. Talking you through a few fights, having a bit of a chat about it and seeing where things go and let people make up their minds for themselves. So I'm going to start straight away here with the main event. I usually keep the main event until the end, or maybe my flyer bet. And it's a bit of a flyer bet this time, but not necessarily. It's Brian Ortega to win by submission at plus 300. Now, Brian Ortega is the favourite to win the fight at minus 170. I'm just looking here. Yair Rodriguez is plus 145. The Rodriguez KO is plus 300. Just like the Ortega submission. The Ortega KO is plus 650. The Rodriguez submission plus 2800. We'd probably guess that. But I think this is a very interesting fight in terms of what I just read out there. Because someone to get a finish is a big price, plus 300 and up. And I think that's very, very interesting, because if you look at this fight and you look at both of these guys, they have the ability to finish at all times. They're not the type of guys that don't go for it, Yair Rodriguez is, I think they put out the fight in UFC's YouTube there yesterday, where, he got the last second KO against the Korean Zombie after a mad fight. Ortega has gotten three round submissions, third round submissions in a row back when he was fighting 3-round fights. Like, these guys are finishers. These are guys that go for it all the time. And like, you put on certain bets, and last week I went for RDA to win maybe in the 4th or 5th round, and it turned out it was the other way around. But that's the sort of fighter. If you look at Fiziev now, you're betting him again to get the finish because he goes for the finish. And I feel like the two of these lads are guys who go for the finish. Now, the reason I've gone for Ortega here, and with that said, before I'll tell you my reasoning on that, the fight to finish inside the distance is minus 150. So there's a bit of a disconnect there, because the fight to go to decision is plus 120, so they're expecting it to be finished. Right, so that's the best odds out of two of them, pretty close. But when I look at that, I'm like, right, let's pick what it's going to be. And that's my pick. My pick is Ortega to win by submission. And the reason I've gone for this, I was talking about it, I'm sure the podcast I did with Spencer will be out by the time this comes out. But he said something very kind of wise in that podcast, or maybe it wasn't in that podcast, maybe it was offline before and we were prepping for it or something like that. But he said to me, like, you'd expect Rodriguez to win a large portion of this fight, maybe. if it stays on the feet, I don't think that's a given. But let's say that does happen. Is Ortega out of it at any stage there? Like, even if Ortega is losing and losing and losing and losing, all he has to do is to win for 1 second, to get in one position at one right time, and he can submit anyone in this world. Now, with that said, and to kind of prove that point, he almost submitted Volkanovski. And if you think about that, this is the guy who everyone now after beating Max Holloway saying he's unbeatable, he's cleaned out the division, there's no one else there. This guy almost submitted him. Now, he didn't submit him, which is fair enough, but Volkanovski is the best in the world, and there's a reason he's the best in the world. But is Yair Rodriguez as good as that? I think we all know he's not as good as Volkanovski. But in that position, would Yair Rodriguez survive in the same way that Volkanovski did? I would probably say no. No, I'm not saying he's just going to give up. He'll get caught in one submission and he's gone or whatever. And maybe it will be that. But I'm not going full Chase Sherman on it here, saying he's going to give up or anything like that. But I do think that what Ortega proved in that fight, in that he can get the best in the world into such a compromising position at one point in a 5-round fight. What is to say, and why? What is the argument that he can't get Rodriguez there? Rodriguez is more of even a wild fighter, where he throws kicks and stuff like that. All you have to do is catch one kick, you put him on his back, you get his back when he turns around, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, I just think he'll get caught. And Spencer to finish the point there, Spencer, he said it only takes 1 second to get into a compromising position to get caught by someone like Ortega. And he's right. He's absolutely right. And it's 25 minutes. And Ortega has improved so much on the feet as well that it's not like it's going to be 25 minutes of him getting bashed up like it was, 14, 15 minutes of him getting bashed up before he became a better striker like he is now. So I think Ortega will actually hold his own on the feet. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he was winning on the feet, but I do think Yair will land some good shots, and I think there'll probably be a bit of blood in this fight and everything, but there will be a wild scramble, there will be an opportunity, and I think Ortega is good enough to take that opportunity. And a plus 300 to get that submission, one of the best submission artists in the UFC. Yeah, I'm taking it. I am taking it. It's a fight I'm really, really looking forward to. I think it'll be, as I said, blood and guts. I think it'll be a rough affair. And I think Ortega will get that submission. I think, let's say this fight goes to decision, right? Let's say I'm wrong and you decide, right, no, it's not going to be a submission, it's going to go decision. These guys are going to even themselves out, which it may be. Who do you think is going to win that? Because that's very interesting to me, because, let's say Ortega catches him in a great submission, almost submits him, but he survives. That could be a round that Ortega wins, Could Ortega win a round early where it's more of like a technical bout early and then Rodriguez opens up a bit? There's 2 rounds straight away, possibly there. I think this is going to be, it's going to be a nip and tuck enough fight, and something might give, especially late, I think, because we saw the 2 Rafaels fighting last week, and no one knew kind of going into that 5th round who was winning. I think most people thought Fedzayev was ahead, absolutely, but it wasn't a clear enough fight for, and when I say nobody, I mean nobody in the corners and nobody in the cage. It wasn't a clear enough fight to say, I don't need to finish here. It was one of those where, it'd be a very bad, it'd be a very bad fight for the open scoring doofuses out there. And I feel like this could be a similar sort of thing where it could be nip and tuck for the first 4 rounds, and in the 5th, someone might need to take a chance, whether it's either guy, and then Ortega might jump on that submission and get it. So, yeah, I'm going for the Ortega submission. I think it's going to be a bit of a janky fight, a bit of a disjointed fight after maybe the 1st round, and I think that really suit Ortega. So that's my main reasoning there. Right, next bet, I am going for Jack Tank Shore to win here against Ricky Simon. He is at minus 160. I'm just looking at it here. His price has come in a bit. He was actually minus 164 yesterday. I think I had it in my notes here. Let me just check him in. Yeah, minus 164 yesterday. So minus 160 here today. Now that'll probably move again as the week goes. I went back and I watched a bit of both of them. And the main reason I'm going for Jack Shore, well, I have two main reasons, right? I think his ability to, I absorb is probably the wrong word, but to absorb shots and kind of to roll with shots and to make shots look like they have no effect on him is massive. That's one reason for me. And the other reason is his ability to land combinations in madness. And if he does both of those things, right? If he does both of those things against Ricky Simon, he will win this fight walking away. Because that's where Ricky Simon wins his fights. He makes you look worse than him in the exchanges. He is faster than most guys in the exchanges. He lands more shots than most guys in the exchanges. And as I said, he makes them look worse. Whereas if Jack Shore can kind of move his head, even roll with the punches, even if he gets punched, not make it look bad for the judges and come back and go bop, 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 hit him with 4 or 5 shots, put Ricky Simon walking backwards. That's how you score in MMA, with good, powerful shots and making the other guy's shots not look as powerful is just it's just as important, So, I think that's genuinely that's my biggest breakdown of the fight. That's the winning and losing of the fight. I think it's going to be an interesting battle in other parts as well, but I think that's the biggest area. Like, I go back and I watch Ricky Simon. Maybe it's just because of the hair, but he reminds me a little bit, or he's like the new age Clay Guida, maybe, where he's a good wrestler. He puts on this massive pace. He's going forward. He has the hair. He's bopping in and out and up and down and all of that, and he tries to land lots of shots on you. I always think a fighter like that is beaten by a better technical fighter. And that's exactly what Jack Shore is. He's a really good technical wrestler. He's a really good technical striker. He's a really good jab. His combinations are really, really good. And he can hit hard as well. And you just imagine a guy, I always hear about lads, or I always see lads in street fights or whatever it might be, and they'd like run into fight like head first, and and then someone who can actually box or fight comes in, hits them with one counter, and then they're laid out, like Forrest Griffin, Anderson Silva style. Now I don't think this will be like that. I don't think he'll be getting one punch knocked out like this. No, he might, you never know, but I think this will be that sort of fight where one guy kind of running in and the other guy picking him off a little bit. Now, that'll only work if Jack Shore can time him, and not just time, but get his timing down and get it down early, because Simon can come on. If Simon gets that forward pressure and starts landing in that area and cuts off the cage and pushes you against the cage, maybe gets a couple of takedowns, it could go very badly very quickly for Jack Shore. So he has to get into it quickly. But I do think Shore is the type of guy who is not necessarily stays safe quickly, but will take a more defensive measure early to get that timing, to get his place in the fight, and then from the second and third round on, he'll start landing those shots. He'll start not necessarily taking chances, but will start letting his hands go where he knows he has gained those reads, if you want to put it that way. So that's the fight I think this will be. I think it'll probably be a decision. Now I've gone for this is the only one I'm going straight up on my bets this week, so I didn't go for a decision or anything like that here. I'm just going for Jack Shore straight up minus 160 to win this one. I think he's smarter, better technique, and I think he'll pick off Ricky Simon when he needs to. And now let me say this again. This is my call on the fight. You might disagree with me. You might think Ricky Simon can go on his pressure and his pace will be too much. And you know what? You might be right. You might be right. Now, this is the way I think it'll go. And this is the way, if I was betting on the fight, this is the way I would bet in the fight. I think it's a pretty good price as well at minus 160. But as you say, you make up your own mind on it. Right. Next bet here I am going for Amanda Lemos to win against Michelle Waterson. And I'm going for her to win by decision at minus 110. If you look at the betting, Lemos is a massive favourite, minus 330 to Waterson's plus 255. And the reason I've gone for a decision is just that I think Michelle Waterson is so tough that I think she'll be able to keep going that long. If you look at Michelle Waterson's last few fights, Marine Rodriguez, decision. Hill, decision. Esparza, decision. Jędrzejczyk, decision. And these are good fighters. Kovalkiewicz decision, Herrig decision, Casey decision, Torres decision, and it was all the way back in 2017 against Rose Namajunas that she actually lost by a submission, and that was Rose Namajunas before Rose Namajunas was Rose Namajunas. If you wanna look at it that way. Now, Lemos has some finishes over the last while. She arm triangle Andrade. She knocked out a few people as well, but she has a couple of decisions in 2 of her last 5 as well. But she is more of a finisher without a shadow of a doubt. I think the big issue here for Waterson is obviously the size. Now, this is at strawweight. I was watching a fight against of Lemos's last night, and it was at bantamweight. Was it Leslie Smith, if I'm not mistaken? Let me just check her record here. I watched. It was Leslie Smith, and that was at bantamweight. So she didn't look. She looked a bit undersized in that fight, but not terribly undersized. So she's a big lady, you know, compared to Michelle Waterson, who we all probably acknowledge should be fighting a weight class down, but they don't have it in the UFC. So I think what this is going to be is Michelle Waterson trying to do her thing that she always does, which is throw those kind of high kicks from the outside and miss by miles. And then Lemos will wait for the kick, wait for it to fall, and then come in and land a couple of counters. And I think she will land and land and land and land and land. And Michelle Waterson will probably be hurt a few times and survive. But she's so tough. She's a very hard out. A very, very, very hard out. Especially to knock her out. Now, will she get submitted? Will she get taken out? Maybe. You know, she's been submitted 3 times in her career. But she's only been knocked out once. You know, she's only been knocked out once in her whole career, and that was back in 2014 in Invicta. Michelle, I'm going for the decision here based on 2 things. Based on, I think that Lemos will beat her up badly, and I think Waterson's very tough and will survive. So those are the 2 reasons I've gone for Lemos to win the decision here. She's plus 240 to get the KO if you think I'm wrong. She's plus 1200 to get the submission if you think that'd be better. But I do think the most likely outcome here is a Lemos win. And I think the most likely outcome here is the fight going to decision. So Lemos fight decision. Minus 110. I think that's pretty good bet, and you know that price could come in maybe to minus 100. Actually, I think it'll probably actually go the other way. So if you're taking that, I'd probably take it now. So yeah, I'm going for that one there. Right, my next bet, and this one I kind of hummed and had about it. Honestly, I really did. I'm going for Miesha Tate to win the decision at minus 110, and it wasn't the decision part of it I hummed and had about. It was like who'd win part, because Lauren Murphy is plus 170, and that's a pretty good price, I think, because it's a very, very even fight. Now I think one of them will win by decision. So basically I was going for, you know, the plus 170 to win straight up versus the kind of the plus 110 if you like Murphy to win by decision. Let me just check here. That's plus 185, so not a massive difference there in terms of her price just to win straight up and win. If you're betting on her, I would bet on her to win straight up rather than to win by decision, because there isn't that much of a difference in it. But I haven't just watched Tate's you know, her last fight and her comeback fight, or sorry, not her last fight, but her comeback fight against Reno, and the fight even against Vieira, where she won 5 rounds, and she didn't do anything too bad in that to put you off. I just think she looked like someone who wasn't out of the cage for 5 years. She looked like someone who was still able to do it at the top level of MMA, and I think coming down a weight will actually help her. I think she probably would have come down to 125 before if the division was there back in the day, and if she didn't have so much success at 135, and if the big Rousey fight obviously and the home fights and the Nunes fights weren't there at 135, I think she probably would have done it. Like if you look at her fights, it was the home win obviously for the title, then the big Amanda Nunes fight, and then she fought Raquel Pennington once in the big McGregor versus Alvarez card, and in the retirement game. So she didn't really have the opportunity to go down at that stage, or to go down, you know, when the division came in, when Shevchenko was there or not. So now she's looking for obviously this big money fight against Shevchenko as well, and it'll be that's pure speculation by me now, saying, she would have gone down or she could have gone down, and I think the weight will suit her. That's pure speculation. Maybe the weight won't suit her. Maybe we'll see her Friday at the weigh-ins and she'll be, drawn out, and then you go and you bet on Lauren Murphy at plus 170. But I don't know. My call, and it's only my call, I might be wrong, I'll say it again. My call is that she's going to look good, and she's going to bring some extra power down in that weight class as well, because I think that's my main reason for calling her to win the decision over Lauren Murphy. I keep calling her Leslie Smith for some reason. Why do I always mix Lauren Murphy and Leslie Smith up? It's very bad. I always mix Rob Font and Dan Ige up as well. They're like, them lads, they're both the same guy like that. But anyway, I think Miesha hits a little bit harder than Lauren Murphy. And if we look at how MMA scored today, it's scored on impact and who hits harder. And if this does go to a decision, which I think it will, it'll come down to that. Who has landed the hardest shots in each individual round. And in my opinion, if that is the question you're asking, I think the answer will be Miesha Tate. Honestly, I do. And that's as simple as that. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think it's going to be nip and tuck. You could see a split decision here, honestly. But I'm going for Tate to win it at plus 110. I don't think it's a bad price, honestly. Don't think it's a bad price. Plus 110, Miesha Tate. Right, so there are my 4 bets. My flyer this week. It is a flyer. It's a flyer. You cannot deny that this one isn't a flyer. I'm going for Dalcha Lungiambula to win, Lungiambula even, to win by submission at plus 1200. So the flyers are going to be flyers, right? The flyers are going to be flyers from now on. I'm not taking any backward steps anymore, right? And the reason I'm going for this is because I watched a couple of Dalcha's fights, and he's only won twice by submission. Sorry, he only won once by submission in his career in 11 fights. So, it's nearly 10%, 9% of fights or whatever it was won by submission. And it was a good while back, early days in his career. But I went back and I watched a couple of his fights. And the Dequan Townsend fight especially, he got a few nice takedowns in that. He got a bit of top control. He dominated on the ground. You forget sometimes that this guy was a judoka. Sometimes he comes out and he throws his hands all the time, and he gets a few knockouts and things like that. But sometimes you forget he's actually pretty good on the ground. And if he gets taken down, if he gets in the bottom, that's a different story. But if he is the stronger guy, he can trip you, put you on the ground, and make it a tough night for you. And the reason I've gone for this here is because Punahele Soriano, we all know him as well. He's a big knockout artist. He hits very, very hard, and that's what he'd be looking for. He'd be looking for the knockout. So if Dalcha comes in here, now, he might come in here and he might go toe-to-toe and one of them might get knocked out. I am not saying that's not going to happen, but I'm banking on him having a smarter maybe game plan here at plus 1200. If he has a smarter game plan, pushes Soriano against the cage and can take him down with those big judo throws and those big slams, I could see him getting the submission. I could see Soriano maybe giving up his back, putting in a rear naked choke for Dalcha here and getting the submission. Because he has very good top control. He has very good takedowns and throws. And against a guy who's, known as a striker, would that not be the right way to go? I think it would be. I think it has to be. And, he's on a tough part of his career as well. Like, so is Puliana, but he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights as Dalcha. This is a must win. This is the type of fight you got 3 losses in a row, 4 out of 5, and you could get cut from the UFC. This is a must win fight. And in a must win fight, you must do what you need to win. And is that going out there and striking with Soriano? I don't think so. So, takedown, submission, plus 1200. That's why I'm going for the Lungiambula. It's a flyer. It is absolutely a flyer. If I had a $5 of my own money, would I put it on this straight up? Absolutely not. But at plus 1200, maybe. It's the flyer of the week. It is the flyer. I'm saying this now. My flyers are going to be no longer plus 300 bets. I want to go mad. These are mad bets. One will happen every 3 months. But that's what we're going to go for. So that's the flyer for this week. Right, let's run through a couple of the other bets and then I will recap my bets as well. Let me just check on this Herbert Burns fight here, because I think he had a pullout, and let me just make sure who he is fighting here up on Sherdog.com. Has the fight been rescheduled? I don't think the fight has been rescheduled. Oh no, he's fighting Bill Algeo. Yes, he's fighting Bill Algeo. The price is up on that, actually. So it is minus 180 for Algeo, plus 155 for Herbert Burns. Herbert's been out for a good while, and I think that's probably the biggest reason here why they're going for Bill Algeo. Let's see what price Herbert is to win by submission. Burns by submission plus 225, so not a big difference in that one. I think that'll be a good even fight. Algeo hasn't the best takedown defense, to be honest, and if Herbert can get in there and take him down, I could see maybe that submission plus 225 might be the bet to go there, but there's probably a reason Algeo is favoured in that one. Emily Ducote, we go from bottom to top. Emily Ducote is minus 145 favoured over Jessica Penne. Stuffholz is the underdog at plus 125 against Dwight Grant, minus 145. The Jung versus Jacoby fight was one I was looking at to finish maybe inside the distance. That is minus 115, so I think that's pretty good there. Both of those guys have power. Then the Jack Shore fight, minus 160 versus plus 140. If you like Jack Shore to win by decision there, you can get him at plus 115. So that's pretty good there. Simon to win by decision is plus 215. I think it probably will go to decision. I think it'll be a close enough one. So if you fancy either of them, that's the way to go for him. Soriano is minus 230. Lungiambula is plus 195. If you think it's going to be a KO, Dalcha is plus 450, plus 160 for Soriano. So Soriano, a big not favorite because it's plus money, but it's as close to even as you'll get in a fight like that to get the knockout something. You know, I think if Dalcha realizes that, gets that takedown, you'd never know. Lauren Murphy plus 170, minus 200 for Miesha Tate. That's a bigger price than, you know, that Lauren Murphy. That's the reason why I was on about it. That Lauren Murphy price is really good. It's a really good price there on Lauren Murphy. I think Miesha at minus 200 is too big, but her to win by decision is a pretty good price. Then we've Matt Schnell plus 220 against Sue Mangiari, minus 260. I really like Schnell. I like his ability and all, but I like Sue as well. It's a tough fight. This is a tough fight. I think that line is a bit too loose. Honestly, I'd probably go for Schnell at that price. I think that's a closer fight than the bookies have it there. If you're telling me straight up who's going to win, I'd probably go for Sue Mangiari, but at that price, I think Chanel is the bet there. Jordan and Burgos, then that's a fun fight. Minus 171 for Burgos. He's the favourite. Plus 146 for Jordan. Even enough, I think that's just about right as well. Li Jiangliang then is plus 152. The returning Muslim Salikov minus 177. And then we have the top two fights. Amanda Lemos minus 330, Michelle Waterson plus 255. I went through a few of those bets earlier. And in the main event, minus 170 for Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez at plus 145. So very, very close there on that one. If you fancied over under 2.5 rounds, over is minus 185, under 2.5 rounds plus 155, the under 4.5 rounds minus 120. I like that as well. I think that's a pretty good bet there. So if you're looking at the overs, probably go to that. Probably go to 4.5 rounds. So yeah, fun main event. Not the best card in the world. I think there will be a couple of fun fights though. I really like that Schnell Sue Mangiari fight. I think that'll be a good one. Li Jiangliang is usually in bangers. I think Tate against Murphy will be an interesting one as well. And we could see a few big finishes early. I think late we'll get a lot of decisions, but early we might get some finishes here on this one. Alright, I will leave it there. Best of luck on all your betting this week, everyone. I'll just recap the bets before I go again. Ortega by submission plus 300. Jack Shore minus 160 straight up. Lemos to win by decision minus 110. Plus 110 then for Miesha Tate to win by decision. And then Dalcha Lungiambula to win by submission. The Flyer of the week at plus 1200. I'll leave it there, lads. Thanks very much for watching, listening. Put your bets in the comment section below here on YouTube. If you are watching, give it the thumbs up. As I said, leave a comment. Click the subscribe button as well. You'll get these each and every week from me. Shout out to John Brannigan and all the crew over at Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan for that beautiful website of Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.